So, the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine trial has now ended, and that means that all those of us who were volunteers on that trial have now been told whether we were given the actual vaccine or the placebo, and, drumroll please, not very good at drum rolls, I had the actual vaccine. So I was, immunised against coronavirus about this time last year, which is kind of amazing and wonderfully reassuring when it comes to thinking about going out now as lockdown ends, to know that I've already had both doses of the vaccine. And it leads me to reiterate a point that I know I've made before, which is this: we have vaccines that work. We need to release the technology so that manufacturers around the world can make as many of these vaccines as possible. And I've been saying this for a while, and the reaction I get tends to be like, first of all, well, that's crazy, that's ridiculous. And yet, is it crazy? 100 countries have already called for this to be done, including India, including South Africa, places where dangerous variants are running rife through the population. And that was put forward to the World Trade Organization to say, we need to lift the intellectual property rights around COVID-related medical stuff immediately. And it was blocked by the UK, the US, Australia, perhaps some of the predictable faces. But Joe Biden is thinking about reversing his position on this right now. So it's still absolutely on the table. We totally can do this. Another reason why it's not crazy talk is that we did this 2 decades ago with HIV and AIDS drugs. We made it the case that parts of the developing world could develop generic versions and could produce those generic versions because we realised that it was a hugely important issue and that thousands and thousands of lives were at stake. And this pandemic is killing more people and faster than that pandemic did. So this is not so surprising. What's surprising really is that we've allowed the situation to be so much worse and not done the simple thing that we did last time around that really helped the situation. The next objection is but money, but capitalism, which is absolutely ridiculous if it's ever crossed your mind that maybe lives are more important than money and capitalism. But also, but capitalism, the estimated cost to the global economy of not doing this is $9.2 trillion. So, honestly, we could just all chip in a fiver and then benefit from the rest, It's not really necessary to protect capitalism by burning $9.2 trillion. Let's do the thing that saves lives. And on top of that, let's not forget that just because you and I might live in a country where there is pretty good access to vaccines and the vaccination seems to be going on pretty fast, you and I are still threatened by the fact that there are large parts of the world where almost no one has been vaccinated. And that's because even if we don't care about all the lives being lost, and we should, in which case, what does that say about us? The fact is that more cases going around mean more risk of variants developing. And that will, as we've already seen, include variants that have higher rates of transmission, include variants that affect groups that previously thought they were safer, that will have a higher death rate, and that might be unaffected by the vaccines as they are developed or need further development on the vaccine situation. So, Boris Johnson not doing this is putting his life at risk as well as the lives of people around the world who he quite clearly doesn't care about, because he doesn't even care about people in the UK either. Oh, then some of the pharmaceutical companies are saying, well, is there even the capacity? What about competition for components? Well, sure, but just so you know, Inceptor Pharmaceuticals in Bangladesh, they're saying that they're ready to make millions and millions and millions of doses of vaccine just as soon as they can have access to the information about how to build the vaccine. So, okay, let's call their bluff. Give them the information, and then when they don't succeed in making any vaccines, we'll be like, oh, well, you lied. That's a huge issue. And there's a lot more going on around that at the moment, because what is also going on, kind of side point, is that United Nations is looking at downgrading Bangladesh from its least developed country LDC status. And that current status is one of the reasons why it makes a lot of generic drugs, and most of the generic drugs available in the Asian region are developed and produced in Bangladesh because of its LDC status, and they're about to lose that status based on economic data that only goes up to 2019 and doesn't take into account the fact that their economy has been completely decimated over 2020, 2021 by the pandemic, but we're going to take away some of the privileges they had because we considered them an underdeveloped country. That's another issue. The final objection that I hear left, right and centre is, well, Kate, the thing is, Boris Johnson just isn't going to do it. We all know that. And, you know, yeah, I agree. We should also get rid of Boris Johnson so that we can replace him with somebody who will listen to reason and prioritise human lives. Yes, I agree. But also, more importantly, I don't know if you've noticed, but it turns out this week that Boris Johnson will do literally anything in return for a new pair of drapes. So, you know, let's just stick our necks out and start asking for this. Let's be brave. Let's challenge the status quo, you know, da-da-da. And because it turns out that when I was a big brave soldier last year and let them put an untested vaccine in my arm, the net result was that I've been protected against something that a lot of you have been really, really worried about all year. And it turns out that being brave was actually the best thing to do. So let's do it again for the benefit of everybody else around the world. I put my arm on the line. Now, let's see the results of that shared. I didn't do that for the benefit of purely posh British people. I did that for the benefit of everybody, and I want the results of that available to everybody. See you next week.